Hi, hello, how are you? Hello, happy Tuesday. I haven't uploaded or like filmed in a week, I should say. I just had really bad anxiety last week, some, things happening in my personal life, and didn't read like at all. The setting for Book of Night is just not really captivating me right now. It is not as magical and whimsical as the other books that I have been reading, so I have put it aside. I don't know if I've ever said this, but I do not DNF books. I just set them aside and eventually come back to them. I once put Layer of Dreams by Libba Bray aside for 2 years and then finally picked it back up because the fourth book in the series was coming out. Started from the beginning, loved it. So I've rarely ever DNF'd a book. I think the only time that I ever have was a Tiger Lily book that I read in high school and I just really didn't like. But that's the only time I've ever DNF'd a book, so I'm putting it aside for now. I'm about 200 pages in, there's only 309, so I'm thinking maybe at the end of the month, if I finish the other books I had planned on reading, then I will go back and pick it up. But putting it aside, I didn't pick up the Alice Paradox next, which is what I had intended to do. I actually picked up Chain of Thorns. I don't know if you can see it, I'm in the window, by Cassandra Clare. I read Chain of Iron last month? At the beginning of this month? This last week has been so long, I'm ready for February to be over. But I am reading that right now for my Valentine's Day gift. My fiance took me to Barnes & Noble to buy books. I spent about $100 on his gift, so he let me spend $100 while I was there, and Chain of Thorns was one of the books that I wanted. I got it on as an ebook because the current book that's out is the hardback and all of my books are paperback. So I'm gonna wait to get the physical book until it comes out in paperback in like a year. But I didn't want to wait a year to read this because when I read Chain of Iron, I was so confused on what was going on and barely remembered anything from Chain of Gold. So I was like, I'm just going to purchase it and read it soon. And then because I was feeling very like slumpish in reading and in life, when my fiance left for work the other day, I just was like, screw it, I'm gonna read it. I'm not reading anything else. I always feel like I need to finish the book that I'm on before I move on to anything else on my TBR, and I was like, this isn't even on my TBR, but I'm gonna read it. And I'm 126 pages in, really enjoying it. I just love the Shadow World so much. I do not like that every single one of Cassandra Clare's series in the Shadowhunters realm has a love triangle. So James and Cordelia and Matthew are in a love triangle, and I just hate it because I hate that there's always somebody who is left out, obviously. So I just feel like Matthew's gonna be left out, and maybe him and Jem can talk because Jem was left out when it came to Will and Tessa. And reading this makes me want to reread The Infernal Devices just to stay in this world, but I don't know. I'm really enjoying it though, and it feels like it's kicking me up. But I wanted to show you the rest of the books that I got for Valentine's Day. So I got The Wicked Remain by Laura Poole. This is a sequel to The Grimrose Girls. It's about this group of girls who go to this like prestigious, very fancy all-girls school, and their friend dies. And they're all sort of tied into like fairy tales. So she turned out to be Ariel, I think. I read it sometime last year, so I'm kind of forgetting, but this is the sequel to it. So I picked this up. When I read The Grimrose Girls, I read it in 2 sittings, like 200 pages one night, and then the rest of it the next night, and absolutely loved it. And then I chose The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I loved the Cruel Prince series. I didn't know that this was a 4th book. I thought it was a novella, and I typically don't read novellas. But I guess it's either a 4th book or the start of a new series, but I'm really excited to read it. I love Holly Black. which is why it's so weird to me that Book of Night is just not clicking, because I've never felt this way about any of her books, so hopefully this is also really good. And for the fourth book that I got Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I loved Ninth House. I had heard so many bad things about it, and I just think it was because people were comparing Ninth House to the Grisha verse, and they're completely different. They're set in completely different worlds, they're for completely different age groups, and I just think that you have to separate her as an author from the Grisha verse and not compare it to that, and just enjoy this. I loved it so much. The dark academia, being in like Haven Town or wherever Yale is, it was great. I can't wait to read this. And the last book I got was Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin. This isn't a sequel, but I read her first book, The Nature of Witches, last year and loved it. I loved her perspective on witches and their magic being much more elemental. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how she describes witches and magic in this one, and seeing if it's going to kind of tie into that one, or if just the magic's going to stay the same but it's like a different world instead of characters. I don't know. But oh, I just realized that a bunch of the pages in the back are all crumpled up. You see them right here? Ugh. Hopefully I can smooth those out, because I really don't want to have to go back to Barnes & Noble and complain. Or, not complain, but I definitely don't like when my books are messed up. Unless it's the last one, then I will say something so that I can get like an extra 10% off. So those are the books that I got for Valentine's Day, and what I'm currently reading. Hopefully reading Chain of Thorns can kind of like kick me back up into a reading mood. And I might just, like I said, set Book of the Night aside, try to come back to it at the beginning of the month or at the end of February. But I still have 2 other books on my TBR, I believe. The Atlas Paradox and finishing The Burning God. The Burning God is another one that I started last year, and I'm like 300 pages in. I only have like 150 left. I just wasn't feeling it. I set it aside, and after like 2 or 3 weeks of not reading it, I picked up something else. So hopefully I can finish those and this. With Skylar being gone, I'm reading a lot more. I should say I'm reading more, but this last week I didn't, so hopefully I just pick it back up and don't slump again and my anxiety doesn't peak. So I'm going to go, and I will talk to you later. Hello, happy Sunday. I just got back from CVS. I bought a new curling iron. The longer that my hair gets, the like larger of a barrel that I need. So I think I've been using a 1 inch, 1¼ inch, and my curls just aren't staying. This isn't really necessary information, but I'm telling you anyways. So I sized up to a 1½ inch. It's heating up right now. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but they're just like flat in weird places. It's not holding the way I want it to. So I got a new curling iron, but I'm home now, and I wanted to update you on my reading. Not last night, but the night before, I finished Chain of Thorns. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I feel like we got the conclusion that we wanted with Cordelia and James, Lucy and Jesse, Anna and Ari, all of the characters. Of course, someone died. I won't spoil it. This book just came out a couple weeks ago. Someone died, and it is just, again, a character that you don't expect. It's not the character that's like James or Matthew, who's drinking himself into a stupor. James, who is always running out into the fray and like being the first one into battle. It's someone that you just don't expect, and I think that that's what hits the most. If you read The Dark Artifices, one of the characters that dies in that is very young, and her death was just so unnecessary and hit me so hard. It just leaves you breathless because it's just a character that you don't expect to die. And I think that's what Cassandra Clare is good at. She kills the character you really don't expect to die. The like sweetest character who means the most to everybody, and the character in the Last Hour series that dies. I just wasn't expecting it, and I really want to go back and reread the Infernal Devices series, just because I feel like I've forgotten so much about like Will and Tessa's story and Gem, and the way that the series is set up, that the like Mortal Instruments comes first, and it's set in like not necessarily the present day, but it's set in like, I don't know, the 2010s era. And then the next series is the Infernal Devices, and that's set in like the early 1800s, like 1850s or something like that. And then the next series is the Dark Artifices, which is set after the Mortal Instruments, so like 2015. And then the Last Hours is set after the Infernal Devices. And so it's really confusing me, and I want to almost go back to the Mortal Instruments and the Dark Artifices to see if these characters from the Infernal Devices and the Last Hours are mentioned, because so one of the characters, Christopher, he creates fire messages, and they're used so much in the Mortal Instruments and in the Dark Artifices. And one of the characters in the Dark Artifices that we discover is Kit Herondale. He is Christopher's actually, I think he's a Lightwood? I can't remember now. I don't think so. I think he's a Herondale. But there's a Kit Herondale in the Dark Artifices, and I just am like, did anybody ever tell him that his grandfather is the creator of the fire messages, or his like great-grandfather? I guess it wouldn't be his grandfather. I don't want to... Anyways. But it's almost like I wish I had known who the characters were from the 1800 books before I read the Mortal Instruments and the Dark Artifices, so that I would have some like ancestral lineup. It doesn't really matter. I finished that. I really enjoyed it. I'm seeing all of this stuff on TikTok about people who thought that it should have ended after James and Matthew went to Edom, and that it should have been a fourth book, and that Cassandra Clare is unhappy, that so many people are unhappy, and it's got like a 3-star rating on Goodreads. I don't care. When I read books, I read it. I enjoy it for what it is. I don't spend too much time really thinking about the writing or what I'm wanting from the characters. Obviously, I have things that I want to happen, but I'm just reading the book to enjoy the characters. I don't really think too much about the writing or like the plot and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it, and now I am reading the Atlas Paradox. So I read the Atlas 6 last year? A while ago, and I really enjoyed it. I love dark academia, magical school settings, especially like the Alexandrian Society, something that is exclusive, that a handful of people get into, and that all of these characters are pulled from different backgrounds, different like incomes, different cultures, and they all get put together and are sort of like forced to be a family and forced to like stick by each other's side in order to ensure their survival. So I only read about 50 pages last night. I'm going to edit some videos now and then hopefully read. It's super gloomy here in California. We are in the middle of like a storm. It's supposed to be raining on and off for the next like 6 or 7 days. It snowed yesterday. It is wild out here. I know people who live in other states are like, it was just like an inch of snow. We don't get snow in California. Not where I live, at least. About 30 minutes away we get snow in Big Bear. But where I live in Redlands, we don't get snow. We barely get hail. So the fact that there was snow in my backyard yesterday was crazy. So it's ridiculously cold. On Sundays I have been going to Starbucks to read until it gets dark, and I'm not doing that today. I'm gonna stay home and cuddle up on the couch and try to stay warm. So I will update you when I have made some more progress on the Atlas Paradox. Good morning. Hello, happy Wednesday. It is so gloomy outside right now. It's raining. It's so gray and windy. I have to go into work tomorrow, and I am not looking forward to that at all. But I'm mostly coming on to end this vlog. I read 4 books. I did not finish the Atlas Paradox. I just wasn't in the mood. I got my period like 2 days ago, and I'm on a specialized birth control, so I only get it every 3 months because it's so severe. My cramps are just absolutely killing me. I've been watching like the Marvel Avengers movies, all of the Marvel movies. I'm 10 movies in right now. I finished phase 1, which is like how they group the movies based on the timeline events. So I finished phase 1, I've watched all the Iron Man movies. I'm into... Basically that's what I'm doing right now. And that's what I've been doing at night because I've just been feeling really crummy especially, and I've not been wanting to read. I've read a little bit of the Atlas Paradox. I'm I think 70 pages in, 74 pages in. I'm just not feeling it. I think kind of like Gideon the Ninth or Harrow the Ninth. It's not fantasy, it's not fae, it's not magical, it's not Shadowhunters, so I'm just not enjoying it right now. So I don't know if I'm going to try and continue it in March. Probably not. I think I'm just going to set it aside and keep reading fantasy books. That's really is just what's holding my attention. This is set in the real world. I know that the Shadowhunters was, but it's such an altered world that has so much magic in it that I just flew through. It's hailing. We might be about to get snow. Oh my goodness. Again. That's crazy. Sorry, I'm staring out the window right now and just getting so distracted. Anyways, so I'm gonna put the Atlas Paradox aside. So that means I read 4 books this month. The first was The Witch Hunt, which I gave 4 stars. The second was... oh, I only read 3 books this month. Okay, so The Witch Hunt, Chain of Iron, and Chain of Thorns. I gave The Witch Hunt 4 stars, and Chain of Iron and Chain of Thorns 5 stars. I saw some people complaining about how Chain of Thorns went down. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I just read books for what they are and enjoy what's there. I don't really think too much about all sorts of other stuff. So I'm going to end this. Hopefully next month is a better reading month. I thought it was going to be good, and then my anxiety just kind of hit really hard the last like 2 weeks, which is unfortunate. So hopefully next month is better, and I hope that if this month was difficult for you, next month is also better. I mean, this month, because it's March 1st now. So yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below, let me know how your reading was, what you're planning to read for next month, and how you're doing. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!